How's it goes, everybody? I'll go ahead and turn that off. I don't plan on being like too long. If y'all want me to, I could go live again later. There is a phone call I'm gonna have to make. I don't have like a specific time I gotta make it, but to be honest, I shouldn't put it off too long. So just saying like it's flexible, but I also I feel I need to be responsible. So that being said, thanks for joining me this morning. We're going to talk a little bit about boxing. Big shout out to Plant Based Boxing, JD Boxing, The Boxing Lounge, all names having to do with boxing, which this is a boxing channel. I know sometimes I talk about other stuff, especially not my last live, but the live before that. Uh, I was, it was like a lot of talk about VPNs and stuff. I don't mind talking about that stuff, but I like to dedicate those to like specific lives. So it's all good though. If it happens, it happens. At least it happens organically. What up, Lebanon Hebrew? I'm not gonna be too long this morning. Uh, so just keeping up with the theme. Every time I go live this month, it's a different costume. Today is the magenta gloved Huckerberry. See, it's different from the red glove Huckleberry. This is the Huckerberry. So if you take a good look at the avatar, um that is not Val Kilmer. It's some rando who is wearing a Doc Holliday costume. So, but yeah, just so it is a costume nonetheless. So Saul Goodman, who is Saul Goodman? I'm kind of confused. But uh, Boxing Lounge says he wishes he could get paid to go live. I mean, I'm in a blessed position. A lot of people, their jobs are not as flexible as mine. And I definitely realized that because when I first started my channel, I worked for my last job and I would have never been able to do this. Mind you, they were paying me less. So I'm in a blessed position. Um, so I do have something that I'm working on at work, but there's some things here that are not making a whole lot of sense on this particular case. And the person I need to talk to is in a meeting. So that's why I said, and I don't exactly, I don't have to exactly have to call like immediately when their meeting is done. That's why I said I have a little bit of flexibility. But anyways, I want to go ahead and get into, oh, it's on Netflix. I didn't interrupt nothing. You're here on your own free will. But I do appreciate you being here, Boxing Lounge. So and you'll be happy to know I really don't plan on being long. So would you ever go back to working at the office or Gino? Yeah, I'm not opposed to going back to work at the office. Um, Actually, that's very possible with this job. There's a good chance that eventually I will have to go to their office. And if that's the case, I'm not gonna leave just because I'm not gonna be working from home no more. Um, I just prefer to work from home because that is the environment. At this point, let's see. At this point, more than half of my work experience is from home. So, because like I said, a lot of people started working from home because of the pandemic. I was working from home long before, just not the same job. So, when the pandemic happened, I was already ahead of the curve versus most of the population, because I had already been working from home. Now, I do know there's other companies that they do the work from home thing. Um, I know the Hyatt does. I also, Hyatt hotels, their customer service does. And so does Progressive. So I know a couple companies that do. I haven't worked for those companies. I just know that that's something that they were doing before the pandemic. Um, I mean, and things could have changed. Maybe they're not working from home now. I doubt it, given the circumstances. But anyways, no, I was not homeschooled. I went to public school. The work from home thing kind of happened by mistake originally. Well, not by mistake, but I got hired by my last job. Originally had to go to the office, and a couple years into my employment there, they were sending everybody home. They already had a work from home program that they had, but they weren't just sending just anybody home. Like you had to be working there for a certain amount of time, and I think you had to have like good work reviews and stuff. But then all of a sudden they decided they were going to send all of us home, and that's how I ended up going home. So, in fact, a lot of my work experience at that job came by pure happenstance, to be honest, except for getting the job itself. That's the only thing that didn't come by happenstance, but everything else kind of did. What up, Larone? 9817. Let me go ahead and get into the boxing talk. I know you guys are interested. But I'll tell you what. Um, if y'all want to do like a Q&A stream, I'm down for that. Just let me know, and I'll do a stream in the not so distant future. But I really do want to talk about this, and I kind of wanted to put it in the title, but I just decided not to. And I want to talk about Clarissa Shields. For those of that this might be something that you guys actually don't know. You probably do, but just in case you didn't know, Clarissa Shields has lost an MMA fight. I saw, I guess, like some kind of a post from Jake Paul that somebody shared, and it said like he said something about like karma's a bitch or something like that, and there's like a whole thing about that she got exposed. So then I looked into it, and yeah, she lost her second MMA fight. Um, so what up, Gunner Season? Thanks for coming. Um, But yeah, Clarissa Shields has officially lost in MMA. She's not undefeated over there anymore. And there's a couple things I want to talk about when it comes to this, because there's always like this weird energy when it comes to boxing and MMA. All right. And I really don't understand it. Um, there's this whole boxing versus MMA, like people for some reason feel that they have to create animosity toward each other just because they like different things. And to me, that doesn't make sense. We see it within boxing. We see it. Oh, uh, I'm this fan. I'm this guy's fan. You're that guy's fan. I fucking hate you. I think that's weird as hell. Like we can like different things, and we can like different sports, different athletes, and still be cool with each other. Um, but I know already. I'm seeing it already. There's a big, MMA. The like a lot of the boxing fans had their laughs with, you know, some of these fights, like Tyron Woodley, which to me that didn't make sense because Jake Paul's not really a boxer. Yes, he boxes, but he's not a boxer really. Um, then you have like other fights, like fucking, the Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor was the biggest one. Um, and so we have like this dynamic where people want to create animosity just because these fans like MMA and we like boxing. And I really don't think that's the right attitude, but I'm already seeing it. I'm already seeing how and you know what? I don't blame the MMA guys because when an MMA guy loses to a boxer, a lot of us, not me personally, but I see a lot of other people talk a whole gang of shit. So now you want to throw your hat in there. Now you got, just like you're willing to take those W's, you got to take the losses, and that's not even really what this live is about. I'm just touching on this. And the thing is, Clarissa Shields, she's not the first one to lose. In fact, she's not even the. We recently had a boxer lose to an MMA guy in the boxing ring, and that's fucking Chavez Jr. when he lost to Anderson Silva. So to me, I don't get it. Here's my thought process on the whole, MMA versus boxing. All right, they are two combat sports, and boxing is the one that I like. I don't watch MMA. I'm a complete noob, a complete casual. When it comes to MMA, I don't know shit. All right, but I know this. All right, it is still a dangerous sport. I do think boxing is still more dangerous. Like, I don't I haven't heard of anybody really dying in an MMA ring, and I'm not doubting that it's ever happened, but it definitely seems like it happens a lot more in boxing than it does in MMA. All right, MMA is dangerous because even though like they don't their mortality rate is not as high, I think that they suffer injuries probably more than we do because of just the nature, like don't get me wrong, like boxers break bones and stuff, but like somebody puts you on an arm bar and you're trying everything you can not to tap out. You might tap out just a bit too late. You might end up with a broken bone, broken arm, broken leg. So it's not like it's not a dangerous sport. My thing is this, all right? These are athletes, professional athletes at that, all right? And I think that they should both be respected. There's no reason to disrespect either one. Um, So that's all. That's my piece on the whole boxing versus MMA. Boxing is a sport that I watch, sport that I enjoy. Um, MMA, I've seen a couple fights. I don't find it nearly as enjoyable, and it's not because MMA sucks. It's just not my cup of tea. All right. I mean, it's just a weird thing that human beings do because it happens like if you in gaming, you got the console wars. You got people at each other's throats over a plastic box that they play video games on. It happens in the phone community, Android um, versus Apple, and then it even happens within the Android community. Like, what's better, Samsung or what's the name of that company? I can't remember the name of it. It's getting really popular. In fact, in certain parts of the world, it's actually outsold Samsung. So I can't remember the name of it. But anyways, it's just a weird thing to me. Like, you know, like people don't do this with Coke and Pepsi. Like that that's a perfect example of people liking different things and not having to be assholes about it. So yeah, I went on long enough about that. Let me go ahead and give my thoughts on this. All right. Now, Clarissa Shields, she's made a lot of enemies within the boxing world. Obviously, like even though Jake Paul is not a boxer, he is involved in the boxing world. Even if he were to retire right now, I know he like faked out everybody saying he was retiring after the last fight, and then like 1 or 2 days later, he said he's coming out of retirement. He's just an asshole, if I'm being honest. But he and a narcissistic one at that. But even if he were to legitimately retire today, he's still going to be involved in boxing. Why? Because now he's an official promoter. I mean, he has signed Amanda Serrano in boxing, not in MMA, because she does both. Um, but anyways, yeah, so but she's made some enemies definitely within the community. There are channels that she has directly made enemies with, and to me it's just because of the criticism. And here's the thing, you're always going to have critics. The best you can do is like try to prove that they're wrong. And if they decide to still criticize you after that, then that says more about them than it does about you. But so now, given the enemies that she's made in the community, enemies that she's made, she's made very controversial statements. She's tried to do this whole thing about like the wage gap. Like she's trying to apply it to her situation, and it just doesn't. It just doesn't make sense. And I'll touch on that real quick. Listen, all right. When it comes to boxing, it 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 it's all comes down to the revenue you can generate. It has nothing to do with your gender. Now women's boxing just so happens not to be as popular as men's boxing. So naturally, you're going to get paid less. It has nothing to do with simply because you're a woman. It has to do everything with you're not that you're in a a specific niche that is not that popular. Now, some could argue that it's on the rise, like the popularity of women's boxing is rising, and I think that that's the case. We're seeing a lot more coverage of women's boxing now than we did even 5 years ago. Um, so it's just something that it like you're basically paving the way for women who fight in the future. And you may not give a shit about that, Clarissa Shields, but that is what is going on. Um, there were those who came before you. You're the next, you're the current generation. And then in the future, hopefully, women's boxing will be more popular than it is now. But it's not a wage gap thing. Anyways, it's taken too long for me to get to like my actual point. And my actual point is this, all right? There are special athletes who can do uh more than one sport at a time. There's like Barry Bonds and in the combat sports realm, I mentioned Amanda Serrano. She's actually very successful in both MMA and in boxing. However, if it is not your passion, if it's just about the money, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Don't get me wrong. If you're good at something, why not get paid for it? But don't jump into something just to get paid. You don't even know if you're good at it. You know what I'm saying? So Clarissa Shields, she is now taking a loss in MMA. Um, so whatever marketability she did have, in MMA, I'm not gonna say it's gone, but it's definitely taken a hit. Her stock in MMA is going to be lower now because there was such high expectations. And yeah, she could definitely come back, but the thing is, she's not an MMA fighter. Like what's she gonna do? Come back and fight a whole bunch of low level competition? That's only gonna get you so far. Low level opposition is only gonna get you so far. So um, me and a bunch of us have said, don't do this. Don't go into MMA. I know you want to make more money, and that is understandable. But do it. Try to do it in the sport that you are currently in. And if it's all about the money, then maybe you shouldn't be boxing, because right now you're just in that right now the position of women's boxing is they're making more money than they did last generation, but they haven't quite caught up to the men. And if you're over there just looking at the money that like Canelo and Anthony Joshua are making, and then you're looking at your purses and you're just like, oh, it's the patriarchy, then I just think you have the wrong attitude. Like, and it's not patriarchy, because in MMA, women's MMA is actually quite. I think you can make the argument that women's MMA is on par with men's MMA as far as popularity. So it's not just the society. Like it is society, but it's not simply just society. There's more to it than that. And the only way you're going to change that is by giving boxing fans a reason to watch you box. And guess what? Going to MMA is not giving us that reason. All right, especially if you're getting your ass whooped. So she lost by split decision. All right, I'm not gonna even though I disagree with Clarissa Shields' views on this whole wage gap thing. You know, like she's there trying to call out Eddie Hearn because she's like, "Oh, am I gonna get paid as much as Anthony Joshua?" Like, absolutely not. You know how many men are not getting paid? Half of what Anthony Joshua gets paid, half of what Canelo gets paid, a quarter of what those guys make. So, and it has nothing to do with Eddie Hearn. It has nothing to do with the promoters. It has to do with, are we the fans willing to pay or give the attention and views to women's boxing in order for you to generate that kind of revenue? That's what it boils down to. That's how you want equal rights. That's how it is for men too. Look at Terrence Crawford. You know, Bob Arum's talking about that he's losing money because Terrence Crawford doesn't generate, and Terrence Crawford is somebody who was undisputed at 140 pounds. He's undefeated. He's a man, you know, and yeah, he's making more than you, but like I said, men's boxing is just more. It's just more. It's more popular. It's, you know. So, but yeah, I'm not gonna like try to degrade her. You know, I refuse to say "quote" because it just sounds retarded. It sounds stupid. So I'm not gonna say "quote," but I will say she's probably the best women's boxer of this era. However, that you could also make the argument that Katie Taylor is the best women's boxer of this era too. So there's there's contenders for that title. You know, she has at least one other contender for that title. And Crystal Shields, if that annoys you, going to into MMA is not going to change that. All right. Continuing to do what you do in boxing, every time Katie Taylor does something great, you got to try to do something greater in boxing. Doing it in MMA is just not going to do it. And you're not even doing it in MMA. You just lost. And as far as, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it is her second fight in MMA. I haven't really kept up with her in her MMA, her MMA career. All right, let me take a look at the chat real quick. What up, Tony Boswell, Chase Glory, and the bag will come exactly. And it's like I said, you know. Oh, what up, UGC Flame? Let me see. Sorry, I just haven't looked at the chat for a little while because I really wanted to like just stay on topic. You guys like to ask me about my life and my job, and I don't mind that. Like I said, if y'all want, I'll do a Q&A, and you know, we could talk about other things other than boxing. But I really wanted to talk about this. But yeah, I'm talking about. Brian, I'm talking about Shields. She she's had a couple. Yeah, it's her. Okay, so it is her second fight. I thought so. I wasn't 100% sure, so that's why I thought I'd ask. But I knew she had at least one other fight, and I know she won. And from what I understand, it was she beat somebody that she was expected to beat, which I'm not knocking her for that. She's not an MMA fighter. You know, you got a lot of these people who've been doing jujitsu and grappling and different forms of boxing since they were kids. And yeah, she knows how to box, and that's gonna get her. That's she's not gonna be a complete fish out of water, but it's still it's a different sport. Like we all seen it with Michael Jordan, all right? A lot of people consider Michael Jordan to be the best basketball player of all time. And even if you don't think that that's what he is, people who don't watch basketball know who Michael Jordan is. Okay? So he has transcended his sport, all right? Do we remember what happened when he went to baseball? He didn't do too great. He wasn't terrible, but because he's an athlete, but he wasn't he didn't have that same aura, or that same perception when it came to baseball. Like I said, there are athletes who can do that. All right, there are athletes who are naturally gifted at more than one sport, but those are not those are the exception. They're not the rule. I mean, so it's just one of those things. The difference is you play basketball and you play baseball. You don't play boxing and you don't play mixed martial arts. So as an athlete in a sport that you play, the worst that can happen is they terminate your contract. They sit you on the bench, they terminate your contract. You might lose you might lose a little bit of endorsement even. So it might even hit you in the pockets a little bit. It just depends on how great you are at your other sport. Because I don't think Michael Jordan ever took a hit to his pockets. But when it comes to like MMA, like what if I honestly I don't even know what the aftermath is of that loss. But let's say her arm got broke. Well, guess what? You're considered the greatest woman boxer of this era by many. But now you can't box, at least for now, and that may be an injury that you may never fully recover from. That may be a hindrance to your boxing career for the rest of your career. Your ability to box for the rest of your career. So it's not really worth it. It's like I said, if she had a passion for it, all right, and it's something that she had always been doing, but she never did it professionally, then I could understand. Or if she wants to do exhibitions, you know, if that's a thing. I don't even know if that's a thing in MMA, but just to do it just because, oh, those women are making more money, to me, that doesn't make any sense. All right. You either need to continue paving the way in the era that you're in now, or you need to do something else. Something that is something else that you're passionate about. Even if it's not something that you're passionate about. But when it comes to these combat sports, you can't play them. They're if you play MMA or you play boxing, you're only playing yourself. All right. And I mean, we may be seeing like a very bad train wreck coming up very soon. Because I just seen Rolly Romero over there calling fucking Tank Davis he called him a fucking dumb dwarf. And I think Tank is gonna whoop that ass. That is my official prediction. I'll give that one to y'all for free. You don't have to watch a separate live or video for that. I'm telling you right now, I think Tank is gonna whoop that boy's ass. I think it's gonna be really bad for Rolly. He's talking a lot of shit, and I don't think he's gonna be able to handle Tank. What up, James Jameson? Oh, what up, What up, blood boxing? Yeah, Bo Jackson. Or yeah, I hope I'm thinking of the right person. Sometimes I have brain farts, and I doubt myself because of it. Do you believe women should be able to fight or jam? Yeah, I'm not against women boxing. I know a lot of men don't like it, and I honestly I don't watch a whole lot of women's boxing myself. Uh, I don't really like the 2 minute rounds. But I'm not opposed to it. I'm not like anti women's boxing. It just doesn't interest me. I respect them just like I respect the MMA guys and girls. Um, these are professional athletes. And if it's something that they want to do for a living, I'm not going to say that they shouldn't be able to do it for a living. Um, but I know a lot of men, a lot of men, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying a lot of men do feel like women, when it comes to boxing, their place is either giving interviews or wearing a bikini holding up a big ass number. That's what a lot of men feel, and that's fine. If that's your take on it, I mean, listen. I'm a straight male, okay. That's all I'm gonna say. But I'm not opposed to women boxing at all. It's not something that I'm gonna watch a whole lot of. If I'll put it to you this way, if there is if there's a card that I already plan on watching and there's a women's fight on that undercard, I'm gonna watch it. I'm not when the women's fight comes on, I'm not gonna switch. I'm not gonna watch something else. I'm going to watch that fight, and I may even enjoy it a little bit. But it's not. I'm not gonna enjoy. Chances are, I'm not gonna enjoy it as much as the the men's fight. All right, and it's not because I'm a sexist. It's just because you know it's like in movies. Like you don't see people going at each other. Once again, this us versus them thing. I think it needs to stop because you don't see riots happening. At the movie theaters because these people are buying tickets to go see a comedy, and these people are gonna buy tickets to see a horror. You know what I'm saying? And I know it's not quite the same because most people at the movies watch more than one genre, but most people have genres that they gravitate more than others. Like me, I'm a comedy guy. All right. That's my favorite genre. If I'm laughing, I'm having a good time. I don't give a shit if the movie gets an Oscar. I don't give a shit about anything other than if I'm having a good time. You got people who like horror. You got people who like drama. I watch all those actually, but my favorite is comedy. And I'm not gonna go and say, "Oh, you're gonna go see that garbage Halloween Kills." You're a fucking dumbass. I'm not gonna say that, but that's how people act in this community and in just combat sports in general. And I think it's really not needed. So, but let me take a look if there's anything else I want to touch on. Because, like I said, I do have a phone call that I need to make. Do appreciate you stopping by Blood Boxing. I know that you tend to be pretty busy. Stand up. Is that a movie? Stand up a movie or a show? Yeah. But I basically my thoughts are Clarissa Shields. I'm not going to take away from your boxing career at all, like some people are doing right now, just because you lost an MMA fight. And you know what? If some MMA fan comes at me, I'm gonna try to reason with them. Be like, look, I mean, yeah, Clarissa Shields lost. Boxing didn't lose. And if they start on that whole thing, I'm just gonna explain to them. Look, I understand there's some boxing fans that every time an MMA fighter loses to a boxer, they want to make a big old stink about it. I'm not one of them. Now, if you want to try to crucify me by proxy, then you can try, but you're not gonna get to me like you're gonna get this. You know, you're not gonna get quite the reaction that you're looking for from me. Um, but I do think that Clarissa Shields, I hope that she seriously considers saying, look, I need to stop fooling around with this MMA. It's not what I'm passionate about. I'm a boxer, you know, because then you end up looking like one of these idiots. There was some guy, he was a YouTuber. I don't know his name. I never heard of him before. And he fought another YouTuber. This was recent. This was, I think it was like the same day that Jake Paul fought Tyrone Woodley. I'm not 100% sure on that. In fact, shout out to Tommy Temper. He's the one who showed me the clip, if I'm not mistaken. But this guy, he was talking about how he was gonna knock this other guy. I don't know who either of these two guys are. All right, and I watch YouTube, like not just boxing. I watch a lot of other non-boxing YouTube channels as well. And I never heard of this guy or the other guy that he was fighting. But anyways, he's talking about how he's gonna beat the shit out of this other guy, and that he's been fighting all his life. Fight night came and they lost. I think he got stopped. He didn't get knocked out, but he got stopped, if I'm not mistaken. In the post-fight interview, he's like, "Hey, what can I say? I'm not a fighter." All right, leading up, you're talking about how you're gonna, not only were you gonna knock this guy out, but how you've been fighting all your life. That this is your first rodeo. Now you're not a fighter because you lost. You know, you're just trying to make excuses. You don't have to try to make excuses if you keep it real with yourself and you keep it real with others. That's just the fact. Stand up comedy. Oh yes, I do watch stand up. My bad. I should have realized what you. I was like on a whole different thought process. Yes, I do watch stand up. Um, some of my favorite comedians, all right, are Dave Chappelle, and yes, I know Dave Chappelle is coming under a whole lot of fire right now, but I like Dave Chappelle. I like I was watching Kevin Hart long before. A lot of people don't even know Kevin Hart had a failed sitcom. He had a sitcom when I was in high school. Okay, I'm 35. Okay, when I was in high school, Kevin Hart had a sitcom that ended up not lasting. I've been watching Kevin Hart way before he became big. Um, I like Patrice O'Neal. God rest his soul. Patrice O'Neal is probably one of my he's up there as one of my favorite comedians. And when I heard that he died, oh man, I was just him dying legitimately made me sad. I like Bill Burr. Bill Burr is hilarious. Um, I like George Lopez too, not as much as the other guys that I just mentioned, but I do like him. I haven't seen anything he's done recently, but he's had, some of his past stuff was pretty good. Paul Rodriguez. Uh, there's a lot of good comedians out there. Um, what's that one guy? Some of them I don't even necessarily know their name. I think his name is Corey Holcomb, if I'm not mistaken. I like him a lot. Um, so yeah, I do watch comedy. I remember watching the original Kings of Comedy, which was great. Then I remember when they came out with the Latin Kings of Comedy, which was decent. It wasn't as good as the Kings of Comedy, but it was pretty good. Um, a lot of those comedians I don't even know anymore. Gabriel Iglesias, he's another good one. I like Gabriel Iglesias a lot. He's another one that I had been watching. He's nowhere near as big as Kevin Hart, but I'm talking about his stardom. Obviously, in stature, he's bigger than Kevin Hart. He's lost weight though, but long before he's got to the success that he is now, I had been watching him. He was, a lot of people don't know this. He actually started out on all that. So a lot of these comedians, I don't just know like their comedy. I kind of know a little bit about their background too. I'm definitely a big stand-up fan. So Yeah, Bill Burr, man, he cracks me up. Bill Burr, like if you ever want like to really laugh, Bill Burr does like a podcast, I think like every week. Um, and listening to him and his wife, I mean, it is hilarious. And I don't agree with everything about that Bill Burr says politically or anything like that. But man, if I don't respect the man, like Bill Burr is great. I love Bill Burr. But yeah, Bill Burr, Patrice O'Neill. I know they were friends. If I'm not mistaken, they both or came out of Boston. And Bill Burr, he still talks to Patrice. He still talks about. Sorry, he doesn't talk to. He talks about Patrice O'Neill till this day. Like not all the time, but he brings him up because he just has a lot of. He had a lot of respect for him. Um, who else is there? I'm trying to think of other ones, but yeah, Corey Holcomb, he's definitely a good one. Um, Corey Holcomb a couple years ago, shout out to Boxing Jedi because he brought this up and I looked it up. And but some years ago, Corey Holcomb, he was doing a podcast. I don't know if he still does his podcast, but he was doing this podcast a couple years ago, and he had Ari Spears on there. And Corey Holcomb at the time, he had like all these he had like a crew. His podcast wasn't just him, it was him and like two or three other people. Um and I forget the guy's name, but it was a guy that he's one of his people. Like he's on there every podcast. Um and like I said, I don't even know if he still does the podcast anymore, but he had a podcast at the time. But anyways, Ari Spears said something to the guy. I don't remember what it was, but that guy beat the shit out of Ari Spears. And it was bad. Like he beat the shit out of Ari Spears. I honestly don't remember what he said to him, but I do know that Ari Spears. I remember this much. He was a bit like you could tell he was drunk and he was being kind of wild. That dude did not give a shit that he was drunk. He beat the fucking shit out of him. So that was like a crazy thing to happen. Yeah, rest in peace, man. Yeah, Corey Holcomb, he's hilarious. So yeah, those are some of my favorite. There's other comedians, um, that I like too, but those are like the ones that come to mind. Like, and Kevin Hart, like I said, I've been watching. Like, like a lot of people don't realize Kevin Hart was even in Scary Movie 3 because that was when he was still on the come up. He had like this whole little bit that he did with Anthony Anderson. Who Anthony Anderson, man, he you see in some of the strangest places now. There was a time where Anthony Anderson was like a 90% of the movies that came out. Like when it was around that time when he was in Romeo Must Die, that around that time. That's also like around when he did Kangaroo Jack. Um, and around that time, like he was in just a shit ton of movies. And now like you see him like on the Food Network and he's guest hosted Jimmy Kimmel a couple times. So he's very different now than he was back then. I actually missed the old Anthony Anderson. But anyways, him and Kevin Hart had like this whole little bit that they did in Scary Movie 3. And I think they did it in Scary Movie 4 as well, where, um, something about waking up dead. He's like he's like telling this story. He's like, next thing you know, he, they found him missing. What? How you get found missing? Next thing you know, he woke up dead. Wait, how did he wake up if he was dead? So yeah, I've been watching a lot of these guys for the longest. Even Donald Glover, who I wouldn't consider like one of my favorite comedians, but he's all right. Uh, you know, AKA Childish Gambino. I like him too. Like he's all right. And Like I like him better as an actor than I do as a stand-up uh, comedian. And he even said himself in an interview that he's not really a stand-up comedian. I don't think he's even done it for a little while. But I remember watching him in like I think it was called the Mystery Team or something. And that was long before he ever was Lando Calrissian or he was in Spider-Man or that show is called ATL. Um, so, but I respect him. Like I like him a lot, which is funny because Nocturnal Thoughts. He for a little while he thought that I was Donald Glover coming on the internet to talk about things that, but trying to be incognito. But I promise you, Knock, if you hear this, I promise you, that's it's not me. I'm not. I wish. I kind of wish I was. Like, I mean, I'm glad to be me, and I can only be me. But I'd be lying if I said, I wouldn't mind having that level of success. uh, Yeah, I don't really know a lot of the new comedians out there. I need to. I love stand up comedy. Here's the thing, all right. My girlfriend, she's not big on stand up comedy, so I've cut back a lot, which is funny because she'll listen to a Bill Burr um, podcast with me. She loves to listen to Bill Burr, but she won't watch a stand up comedy special of Bill Burr. So to me, I think it's weird because I rather like his podcast is great and I love it. But if it comes down to watching his stand up or listening to his podcast, I would prefer to. And I think that's just because the stand up is consistent laughs, and I'm a comedy guy, whereas she likes comedy, but it's not her favorite. She's like more of a drama. She likes a lot of drama movies, even terrible ones. She likes. Like I like drama too, but I like it has to be really good. It's not. I'm not gonna watch like the lower tier stuff. That's how you know like what kind of a fan you are or something. Yeah, Cat Williams. I like Cat Williams too. I remember him in his heyday. I bought for a while there. I was buying every single Cat Williams DVD for a good while. In fact, see his stand up that he put on Netflix. I haven't seen it. Want to know why? Because I started watching it, and my girlfriend was like, "Really?" So that was like, all right, I'll just watch this another time. And I never got back to it. So I need to get back to that. Um, because what it is, I try to, one thing I do need to work on is maybe spending some time with my girlfriend sometimes. So like when something like that happens, I try to try to balance things out where it's like, okay, do need to spend more time with her. So let me put this on the back burner. I'll get back to it. And I don't always get back to it. Um, follow other sports a little bit. The only other sport that I'm somewhat following is football, but I'm following it extremely casually. Because what I mean by following football is literally just following football, specifically the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I'm not watching the games. I'm looking up who won. So I know the Bucks are like 6-1 or something like that. 5 or 6-1, I don't remember. And I know they beat everybody that they went up against except for the Rams. I know they lost like 1 or 2 games in the preseason, but those obviously they don't count because they're preseason games. So, but I don't even really know like a lot of the players. Like I know Tom Brady and um, what they call that guy Grognak or whatever. I mean that is his name, but I don't really know a lot of the other players. So it's the only sport that I could say that I follow, and I follow it extremely casually. So, oh yeah, well, it was yeah, and I figured that blood boxing, like Cat Williams, his older material. Oh man, it was hilarious. I'll never forget that day that he came out there and he's like, he's talking about that hustling song. Everybody should know that. Um, if you don't, look it up. Hustling by Rick Ross. I'm pretty sure most of my subs are around my age or even a little older, so y'all know that song. But Cat Williams cracked me up where he is like, it don't matter what you do for a living, put that song. You could be a librarian. He's there doing. He's acting like he's a librarian, and y'all know how that song starts out. It's like hustle, hustle, like when it in the very beginning before like the music actually starts, and then when the music starts, he's over there like, oh man, just thinking about it, that shit made me laugh. But I expected for him not to be as funny because that's usually what it is. Like you have a comedian who's like on fire for a while, and then all of a sudden it seems like they disappear off the face of the earth, and that usually means one of a couple things: either a their newer material is not as funny as their other material, so it's not getting anywhere near as much buzz. Therefore, you may not even be aware that they're still doing stand-up comedy. Or B, they've gotten to the point where they're so successful that they're getting a lot of movie deals. And so now they're not doing quite as much stand-up because they're making way more money doing the movies. That's kind of where Kevin Hart is. I know he still does stand up, but I don't remember the last time I seen a Kevin Hart stand up special. Um, and I'm assuming that's because he's in a shit ton of movies. He's in the Jumanjis, and they and he did two movies with Ice Cube, the ride-alongs. I never saw Ride Along 2. From the previews, it looked like it was just kind of a cash grab, and that happens. Like when you become popular like that, they start trying to throw you into cash grabby type shit. But yeah, I already knew my expectations were nowhere near as high for Cat Williams when he did that special as they were back in the day when I was buying the DVDs. Because when I was buying the DVDs, my expectations were high. So, but I know how the stand-up game goes. Oh, the other reason why you might not see a stand-up comedian is because they do some stupid shit and they've kind of got canceled, like what happened with Louis C.K. Louis C.K., I think he's actually a pretty funny guy. I think his stand-up comedy is pretty good. I don't put him up there with the other guys that I mentioned, but I still think he's pretty funny. But now, no, hardly anybody's paying attention to him because of some shit that he did, you know, and to the point where originally he was the original voice of that dog in those Pets movies. Then when they did the sequel was made after the controversy. Um, so they ended up firing him, and he got replaced by Patton Oswalt, who has never been anywhere near as successful as Louis C.K. in stand-up comedy. Um, Probably when I think about it, I guess like it just overall career, maybe he's as successful as Louis C.K. because he also did the voice of Remy and Ratatouille. But Ratatouille is not really like when people think of Disney movies, Ratatouille is not like the first one that comes to their mind either. So I guess in that respect, they might be on an equal playing field. But to me, and this isn't a knock on Patton Oswalt, he's actually funny too. But I've always liked Louis C.K. better. But it's like I said, because of some stupid shit that he did, he's pretty much canceled. Yeah, Martin Lawrence, Chris Tucker. Yeah. Do I think do I think that Bill Cosby was set up? You really want me to lose some subs, don't you? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, I'll tell you. I see. To me, that whole thing is weird, man. Because why come out 30 years later? Like the guy is was basically retired. So you mean to tell me that this guy ruined your life, took away your innocence, whatever you want to call it, all right? And he's had over 30 years. During that time, in my opinion, he hit his peak. So you let this guy enjoy his career up to the point where he's pretty much retired, and that's when you're going to come out and say something. To me, that doesn't make sense. If you really want to hit him where it hurts, you take him out at his peak or on the rise, either at his peak or on the rise, where he's getting success. But I don't know, and I get, and I don't really want to victim shame. I'm not. I don't, and that's why I say you want me to lose some subs, some subs, don't you? I'm not. I don't. I'm not trying to victim shame. I'm just thinking logically. But I do understand. It could also be that they were intimidated. They didn't think anybody would believe them. I understand that those are some of the things. I don't know. That's why. That's why I said, like, if you want my honest opinion, I don't think he did. I don't like. I had to give Bill Cosby the benefit of the doubt at the very least. Um, but then again, it was a lot of people. Like it was a bunch of people. So a lot of women. So I don't know. I honestly don't know. I go back and like if you want to ask me that, I go back and forth on it. But if I really have to give an answer, I'm gonna say no. Definitely giving him the benefit of the doubt that it could be a setup, but I also don't want to be insensitive to, because that's a terrible thing for a woman to go through. So I hope, I know that didn't truly answer your question, but I hope it kind of gave you an idea of at least where I stand on it. Yeah, Chris Rock, yeah, Chris Rock, see, here's what I'm going to say about Chris Rock, all right? He's pretty funny. Um, I think his humor can be a little bit stupid sometimes, but I mean, and that could be true about just about any, even Dave Chappelle, who is considered to be like a great, like you talk to any comedian today, you ask them who their favorite comedian is, they're gonna say Dave Chappelle a lot of times. Maybe not now, but before this controversy, but even him, he has like some stupid humor. Um, Like you watch some of those Chappelle shows, they're not all the greatest. Some of them are hilarious. Everybody knows about the blind black guy who's in the KKK, Tyrone Biggums, I think was the name. Um, Everybody knows that skit. There was like the whole race draft, which he would never be able to get away with that today. But he definitely had some duds in the Chappelle show. And there's been some jokes that he said that I thought were a little bit childish. And I'm not even talking about like, oh, he went to a place that he shouldn't have. I'm talking about like they're literally like fart poo poo pee pee jokes. So I think that could be. I said all that to say this. I think what I just said about Chris Rock could kind of be said about any comedian out there. But there's just I don't know, and it also has to do with just the type of comedy that I like. I like Chris Rock, but he's definitely not in my Mount Rushmore. Um, and with his movies, I like his movies, but some of them are kind of dumb. Like Head of State, I can enjoy Head of State, but there are some parts that I kind of cringe because there's just jokes that I just don't think are that great. Um, and man, uh, rest in peace. Why am I forgetting his name? I'm having one of those brain farts, and I feel bad because he's a great comedian. He also passed away. Damn it, I can't remember his name. He had a show. Why can't I not remember this guy's name? He was in the Kings of Comedy. Hold on. But he was in Head of State. I'm looking up Head of State right now because I can't remember his name. Pulling up pictures of fucking Donald Trump. Bernie Mac. Why couldn't I remember Bernie Mac's name? I feel like a terrible stand-up comedy fan. But yeah, Bernie Mac was in it. He was hilarious. Every single No, not Chris Farley. I never saw Chris Farley do stand-up, to be honest. But Chris Farley was hilarious. Like his movies were hilarious. Um, Maybe not all of them. Like it's funny because we just talked about Chris Rock. He did a movie with Chris Rock called Beverly Hills Ninja. That was okay. It wasn't great. Him and Chris Rock did okay together. Um, Definitely, I think there was a much better chemistry between him and David Spade. um, I don't really like David Spade. Like, I just don't like his personality. But I had to give it to him. He made a very good team with Chris Farley. So, but yeah, Bernie Mac was in that movie Head of State. Every scene he was in was great. With Chris Rock, not so much. He had good scenes, don't get me wrong, but there was just some parts that were like cringy. Um, but one movie I really did like him in, and I just liked the whole movie in general, was Dogma. Um, yeah, Farley was the man. Yeah, so was Bernie Mac. Yeah, we lost a lot of good comedians, man. It's sad, but I mean, the reality is this: nobody lives forever. So, but there was something I was just about to bring up. What was I talking about? Damn, there was something I was going to bring up, and I don't remember what it is. Oh man, yeah, Dice Clay. I remember Dice Clay. Oh, okay. I haven't heard that, Laron. Oh yeah, Richard Pryor, like that. That's another major comedian right there. When we talk comedy, we gotta mention Richard Pryor. You know, and I also used to like to watch Carlos Mencia, but he fell off, and that's because he got accused of stealing jokes. Same thing happened to Amy Schumer, which Amy Schumer, when I first saw her, I thought she was pretty funny. However, then she started getting into like the politics, and I didn't find her funny no more. Like I didn't think her political shit was funny at all. And apparently a lot of other people didn't because she's nowhere near as popular. That 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 may also have something to do with that she hasn't aged so gracefully. Um, because at one point, like I don't I don't want to come off the wrong way, but at one point Amy Schumer was attractive. Like she really was. Um, so I think her not aging as gracefully, because let's keep it real, like for the most part, Hollywood is very shallow. Like you got people who are very talented but will never make it in Hollywood because they don't have the look. Um, and she hasn't aged that gracefully. And then you got to pick a struggle. So you haven't aged that gracefully. Cool. You know, because you got like Melissa McCarthy, who at her heaviest was pretty popular. So it can happen. And you got guys like Jack Black. If you have the charisma and you're funny as hell, but if you start digging too deep into political shit, whether it be on the left or the right, you're gonna alienate um portions of your fan base, and they ain't gonna be fans no more. What up, Rascal? Man, I really wish what I was I knew what I was gonna say before. Oh man, there was something I was gonna bring up, and I I can't remember if it was a specific comedian or collab or what. But yeah, like I since we're on the topic, let me just say this. All right, it's like I said before. I'm not when I go to the movies, especially when I go to see a comedy. And don't get me wrong, I love like Oscar winning performances too. Like I was honestly blown, and I know some people might say, "Oh, he was overrated," but this is just my opinion. I was blown away when I saw Heath Ledger as the Joker. So I do like a good performance. So don't get it twisted. But like I said, if I'm going to see a comedy specifically, I don't even give a shit about any of that. Even if the humor is like lowbrow, if I'm laughing, I'm having a good time. I don't even necessarily give a shit if the story even makes a whole lot of sense. Um, but that's why a lot of people like The Room, even though it's not intentionally funny. It's just funny, and people have a good time watching it. But one of my favorite comedies, and I know a lot of people don't feel the same way about this movie, but I honestly just get a good laugh out of it every time I watch it. Is Pineapple Express. Pineapple Express. I have it on DVD, and I bought it on DVD even when it wasn't necessary, and that's because I just like the movie. Pineapple Express is hilarious to me. Um, I quote it all the time. You know, even some of the stuff that isn't quite as funny in that movie, I still quote. Like, um, fucking, you know, for safety first, then teamwork. It's not really the funniest line in the movie, but I say it. If it's applicable, and then I have a little chuckle because it reminds me of Pineapple Express. Uh, don't ever talk about a cat around me, because then I remember this scene where James Franco is like, "Oh, you're making a cake? What are you making a cake for?" And this guy is hilarious. I don't know if he does stand up. He probably does. Is Danny McBride. He is hilarious. I will watch a movie that he's in just to see his part. He's asking Danny McBride. He's like, "Oh, why are you making a cake?" And Danny McBride's like, "Oh, it's my cat's birthday." He's like, "Oh, how old is he?" "Oh, he would have been," and I forget the age. He's like, "But he died." So this dude's making a cake for his cat because it's his birthday, but the cat's dead. But that's not even the end of it. Then he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sure he went to heaven." He's like, "Oh yeah, he might have went to heaven, or he could have went to hell. He was a little fucker." Like that movie cracks me up. And Craig, what's that guy's name? He played Daryl in The Office. If anybody's seen The Office, Craig. I want to say Craig Williams, but I have a feeling that's wrong. It might be Craig Johnson. It's the dude who's in the hot tub time machine. Uh, he also did some Walmart commercials, but he was some of his scenes are hilarious. I seen him. I seen him rip a man's jawbone off. I seen it. Like that movie to me. Oh man, I love that movie. Yeah, Amy Schumer. I think she used to be funny. but she's not funny no more, that's for sure. And like I said, like if she was still as attractive as she used to be, she could probably still make it somewhat. There's gonna be people that like look at fucking what's her name, uh, Brie Larson. Uh, I'm not gonna say like she's super attractive, but she's not ugly. You know, I'm gonna say this: she fits more into the Hollywood mold for sure. But a lot of people don't want to see her simply because of you know the whole political shit. Same thing with Amber Heard, who is also in Pineapple Express, by the way, and not so much because of anything political, it's because of her allegations against Johnny Depp. There's a lot of women who are not going to go against Johnny Depp, and to be honest, in that whole situation, it seems like she fucking lied, like just real talk. That's just logically to me, it seems like she lied. I'm not gonna get into that whole situation, but you know, I mean, it just uh, Kathy Griffin ruined her career. Trying to remember who that is. I know the name. Blazing Saddles. That's a good one. Definitely. There's certain lines from that movie that come to mind, but I'm not gonna repeat them. Oh man, yeah, and Gene Wilder, man, may he rest in peace. That was he. I think he was a genius, man. Like, if you ever seen Willy Wonka, I'm pretty sure everybody here has seen it at least once, even if you're a younger person. But there was certain things that he insisted on doing in that movie, and I think that's what separates that one from the new one. And supposedly, this kid that's in Dune, supposedly he's gonna be the next Willy Wonka. They just need to like, unless he can come up with some great ideas. All right, because I'm not gonna leave it to the director and the writers. I think some of my favorite moments in movies are shit that was improv. Unless he can come up with some spectacular shit improvising, he is not going to measure up to Gene Wilder. Because Gene Wilder was the one who said, "Hey, I'm not doing the movie unless I do the that scene. Everybody's seen it where he's like limping out there and then he does like the little somersault. As simple as that shit sounds, all right. Nobody knew he was going to do that. He refused to do the movie unless he could do what he wanted on his introduction. The first time you see Willy Wonka in the movie, and the reactions you get from the actors is legit. Same thing with that boat scene where he's like acting crazy, where the movie gets a bit uncomfortable. That was Gene Wilder's idea to do that. So unless this kid can come up with some good shit, he's not going to measure up to him. And I'm gonna be honest with you, all right. I saw Dune and I didn't like it. It's getting a lot of high praise, okay? And if you've seen it and you like it, that's cool. My issue with the movie is it is extremely slow. It moves at a snail's pace. Okay. And I understand what they went for. All right. They're trying to do some world building because, and I understand why too. This movie was made by Warner Bros. And with the whole DCEU, they rushed it. They tried to throw too many things at you at once. They did like little to no character building. little to no world building. So this movie, I'm not gonna give any spoilers, but it's a lot of world building. All right. But because it's a lot of world building, it moves so slow. And then like like these actors are in the movie, the big name ones. You don't see them a whole lot. Batista's one of the lesser known ones. Like, I mean, I know he's known, but compared to some of these other ones, he's probably in the movie a total of 2 minutes. So I didn't care for Dune. Oh man, a lot of people love. It's getting a lot of high praise, but I didn't like it. Like it moved way too slow for me. Like I like good pacing, and it moves slow, and the movie's not a short movie. See, this is how I grade movies, all right? How much I enjoyed it, how the pacing went, and did it warrant the time it took to watch it? Because there's other things I like to do. So if I'm gonna sit there for 2 hours or more, the movie needs to warrant it. And to be honest, I don't feel like enough happened in the movie to warrant the time it took to watch it. So I'll still watch like the second one, but my expectations are gonna be low. Like I had high expectations for this one. I'm gonna have low expectations for the second one. And all I can say is, in my opinion, this is just my opinion. Don't go to the movies to see this. Watch it on HBO Max. Like like if you feel like you really want to see it for yourself, I don't think you truly need. There's not a whole lot. There's not so much action where it's like, oh man, I got to see this in the movies. Um, I think given how much movie tickets are, they can range anywhere from, if you got a movie theater who does $5 Tuesdays, $5 can range all the way up to $20 a ticket. If you can do a $5 Tuesday, then do it. But if you can't get that, pay the $15, or actually 10, 10 if you don't mind ads. 10 if you don't mind the ads, 15 if you don't want to watch ads, and watch it on HBO Max. That's my recommendation. Oh, vampire. Yeah, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. Yeah, I remember that. I actually have that on Blu-ray. It was all right. Young Frankenstein, yeah, Gene Wilder. I might actually watch that sometime soon. It's on one of these streaming services. I think it's on Amazon Prime. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and end this because I need to make this phone call. Um, like if y'all want to know live, you can just comment. Well, you didn't like the Abraham Lincoln one. I thought it was all right. It wasn't. I found it to be interesting the way that they explained certain things, because there was a lot of historically accurate things in that movie. Obviously, there was a lot of stuff that wasn't, mainly the shit with the vampires. But to me, it was an interesting concept. And I didn't think it was bad. I thought it was all right. I thought it was all right. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and end this. Y'all take it easy. Y'all be blessed. Y'all stay safe. Don't forget to spend time with your loved ones. If you got kids and they're trick or treating, just I hope they stay safe. Um, be smart about, like, you know, growing up. We always went to the mall, you know, because my mom felt it was safe. Not only that, but going to the mall, it was like consistent candy. Whereas if you actually go into a neighborhood, you got a lot of people who aren't giving out candy, so you might go like through 5 houses before you get to one that's actually giving candy. So it's probably better to do like a trunk or treat or like a mall. If that, I don't even know if malls still do that shit, but but everybody stay safe. Make sure your kids are safe if they're partaking in trick or treating. If you're partaking in any kind of Halloween parties or any kind of Halloween events, you stay safe. But everybody take it easy. Peace.